Thomas Mouse on Christmas Eve by Baciocco. Thomas Mouse brushed the last bits of cookie crumbs from his whiskers with his paws. His nose twitched slightly as he did. When he was certain he was now crumb-free, he stood from the spool table and crossed to the door of his one-room mouse hole. He checked the lock twice, always twice at night. It was secure. Confirming that it was indeed locked, he let out a little sigh. His toes made tiny clicking noises as he scurried over to the small Christmas tree he had set up in the corner. Tree was not the right word. A tip of a branch from a tree was more like it. A small clipping of an evergreen that was just the right size for a mouse-sized tree. A single bulb on top, a red one he had found in the garage last spring, illuminated the room. He had rigged together some wire and hooked it carefully to the main to get it to light. Gingerly grabbing the rubber insulation of the wire that ran to the main, he lifted it off. There was a small spark, and the bulb shut off, the room thrown into darkness. He stood still for a moment until his eyes adjusted. He was helped by the light of the night sky creeping into his window. He set the wire on the floor and turned towards his bed. Again, his toes clicked against the concrete floor of his room as he made his way to his bed. The bed, the cap of a spray paint can with cotton packed down inside of it, was warm and inviting. After turning a few circles to make sure the cotton was to his liking, he lied down. His head hung over the side of the cap as he looked out the window into the night sky. At the top of the tiny window, one he had chewed himself when he moved in, he could see a tiny sliver of the moon hanging in the sky like a smile. He looked up at it for a good long while. He looked at it for so long, he swore he saw it move slightly on its journey across the night sky. His eyes started to droop as his body relaxed. Just as his eyes were about to close for good that night, he inhaled slightly. "Merry Christmas, Moon." His eyes closed, and Thomas Mouse fell asleep. Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. This episode of the Grantcast was made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a pledge for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at the behind-the-scenes level and above get access to a video of the recording of these podcast episodes. Big shout-out to all of our patrons, and a special shout-out to our patron producers, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, Brandy, David Akers, Paul, Scott Armstrong, Vicky Sebring, Ricky Chavez, Karina, Jeff Toro, and Lee Thompson. If you'd like to become a patron and receive episodes of the Grantcast before they are released, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up your monthly pledge today. And thank you for your support. This episode of the Grantcast is copyright 2024 Saturday Morning Media, Baciocco, executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com.